Hello, and welcome back to the Silver Screen Shenanigans podcast. I am Riley, joined here today with Devin, and we're going to be talking about the 2003 Pirates of the Caribbean, The Curse of the Black Pearl.
I remember watching these movies when I was like 7 or 8. I thought these were so cool.
I remember watching it yesterday and thinking, these are so cool.
Well, yeah, no, they're so cool. But did you never watch them before this?
So, I mean, it's like every other movie I've seen, you know? I know the basic idea of it.
But after like a couple months, it's
completely gone. I could not tell you what what happened in Endgame, honestly.
That pisses me off. So, Curse of the Black Pearl opens up with, I didn't get his name ever, Weatherby Swan.
The dad?
Yeah, Weatherby, I never got that.
Not a single time.
So him and his daughter, Elizabeth, who's like...
I'd say 12 at most.
Yeah, that makes sense. They come across a shipwreck, and the sole survivor is his little boy. Pretty cool practical stunt. You know, they set a boat on fire.
And had like smoke. I mean, that's kind of cool.
So they find a little boy. He says his name is Will, and he has this like gold like pirate medallion around his neck, and spooky, very spooky.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I guess we meet Gibbs. He's part of like he's like a deckhand on the governorship, yeah. I guess. So, and as like they're discussing whether this sinking was like a act of piracy or not, Elizabeth catches a glimpse. I think, it's a Black Pearl.
Yeah, it is.
And, so she knows it was pirates.
Oh, immediately. And especially when she found the medallion on his neck, she goes, "He's a pirate."
But the governor's like, no, just an accident.
Yeah. Could be. I mean, it could be many things, you know, like powder exploding,
Kraken.
Yeah. Definitely a kraken.
Krakens breathe fire. We all know. 8 years later, Captain James Norrington of the British Royal Navy.
Oh.
They're going to be the British are the bad guys throughout all these movies.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
because it makes sense because like
historically
they ruled like a lot
of the waters. Yeah.
So at a ceremony, at the same time, Elizabeth has a dress where, like, with the corset, she can hardly breathe, and it's a hot day, so she's like on the edge of like fainting. They're up on like this ledge, like overlooking the water, and he proposes to her, and
I mean, what's the worst she could say, right?
She falls off, and falls into the water. And
oh, you missed. So while all this is happening,
that's happening, we get, I dare say it, one of the best introductions to a character ever. Captain Jack Sparrow, played, of course, by Johnny Depp, who based his performance off of Keith Richards from the Rolling Stones, the guitarist, which is, it's cool. Just like his walk and like the eye shot, you can definitely see it with the eyeshadow and stuff. But he's sailing in, like you get the big score, like this triumphant, like welcoming, and he's on the top of like the mast. And like the wind's blowing, and then he looks down. It's like a little dinghy ship, and it's sinking.
He gets down and starts bucketing.
Yeah, and it's not doing much.
No.
And then so like as the ship is sinking, like Jack just steps, like it's the perfect level with like the deck,
the dock. Yeah.
Yeah. So he just steps right. Dude, it's so smooth, and it's like,
dude. And then the guy at the dock goes, "It's 5 shillings to dock here, or 3 shillings to dock here," and he goes, "I don't have a boat."
He goes, or no, it's a shilling to dock here, and he goes, "Here's 3 shillings, and forget the name." And I was like, dude, I love it because like it's it's a perfect like opening to Jack because like he's like suave and kind of like chill with it, but like at the same time he's just kind of going along with he's going with the flow, and
he has no idea what's going on in his entire life.
So yeah, and he's like he goes up to like these two guards, in which this is a running theme I think with like all the movies. Yeah, as they as I say they definitely dip in quality, but throughout all of them the side characters sometimes steal the show. These two like bumbling idiots of like the Royal Guard, are so funny.
Well, they're like debating on
the Black Pearl,
the fastest ship. And he's like, well, no, I mean the fastest ship is the Black Pearl, and he goes, a real ship, like one that actually exists. Well, I've seen it once. It was a ship with black flag, or not black flags, but black. What's the thing?
Sails.
Sails. Oh my goodness. All right, it's gonna be a long day. Oh goodness.
Yeah, it's like an evil crew, and the captain, it was so vile. He, you make you throw up or something. He goes, "You've seen that?" And he goes, "No." He's like, "But I did see a ship with the black sails." He's like, "Oh." And then as they're like arguing with each other, Jack just makes his way over to the it's not the Interceptor.
It is the Interceptor, because they're talking.
I thought he was getting the other one at first.
No, he was getting on the Interceptor, and they're like, "This is the fastest ship." And then he points over and he's like, "Well, why aren't you guarding the big one?" And they're like, "Well, this one's the fastest in the sea."
As they're arguing, he gets onto it. And he's like, so they point their guns at him and tell him he's not supposed to be there. But so yeah, as he's like talking to these two idiots, Elizabeth falls like right next to him into the water, and they tell Norrington that he shouldn't jump in because like it was a miracle that she missed the rocks.
Yeah.
So Jack, he's like, he looks to them and he goes, "I take it none of you two aren't gonna save her." And he goes, and then one of the guys goes, "I can't swim." And I'm like, "Bruh, you are on the water and you."
He's in the Navy, unable to swim.
So Jack gives him all of his stuff and he jumps into the water and saves her.
Yeah.
We
see that as soon as she hits the water, her medallion sends out a sonic boom.
Yeah, like a shockwave.
That is crazy.
Yeah, we don't know what it is yet, but it makes a whole lot of sense here in a second. Yeah.
Well, that, and as soon as Jack sees it, he recognizes it.
Right. So he rescues her, and because she's not breathing, and he rips the corset off. And like then she chokes up water, and he sees the medallion, and he goes, "Where did you get that?" So it's pretty cool how like where there's a lot of like information being given, and not like a spoon fed way. It's we understand that like Jack has some knowledge. He's like, oh, he knows that this metal has some significance. But of course, Norrington like shows up with all of his men, and they are pointing guns at Jack, and they're saying, "Shoot this man right here." And then
Elizabeth is going, "Well, he's the one that saved me.
He's the one that saved me." He's like, "Are you really gonna kill my savior?" And he goes, "Okay, fine." And then Norrington like goes to shake his hand, and then he pulls Jack's hand in, and he sees that he has like the P scar for pirate, and then he sees
he was branded,
and then he sees he has the tattoo of the sparrow, and that's it. He calls him, "Oh, it's Jack Sparrow," and it's Captain Jack Sparrow.
So he was gonna kill him for trying to steal the boat, and now he's gonna kill him because he's a pirate.
There's a really cool line though that it's something about like Jack has a really good I can't remember what the line is, but he talks about how it's like something about like one bad action enough to like
condemn a man.
Yeah. it's like, and yeah, Jack says something. He's like, but I guess it is one action is enough to condemn a man. It's like, ooh, true. It's like one good action isn't enough to
to forgive.
To forgive, and he goes, but one bad is enough to condemn. And it's like, ooh, true.
Which honestly, that's the rest of this movie is all about that phrase.
Pirates.
Well, one action condemns.
Yeah, with Will. Yeah.
That and the curse.
True. So this is also a pretty cool scene, I think, because Jack is, I wouldn't say he's a good guy. But he's definitely endearing with his characteristics. He kind of makes you like him a little bit. But we also realize that he's still a pirate. He's gonna do it. He's gonna get his. And then so when Elizabeth runs over to because they have him in handcuffs, and they're when they're going to shoot him, Elizabeth runs to Jack's side and gets in between the guards and Jack, and then he puts the chains around her neck.
Yeah, he waited for them to finally chain him up, and he goes, "Oh, finally!" and puts the chain around her neck.
And then he tells Norrington to give him his stuff. And we find out that Jack has the compass that doesn't point north. He has the sword and a pistol with one shot, and that's it. That besides his coat and his hat, that's it.
Those who know about pirates, it's very interesting. But if you didn't know about pirates, you're like, oh, why does he have a pistol with one shot?
Yeah, he needs where's the rest of his ammo? Yeah.
Yeah, but when you maroon someone, you leave them with absolutely nothing but a pistol with one shot. And
it's a type of mercy.
Yeah. It's you starve to death, but eventually a bullet sounds pretty tasty.
Sounds pretty cool. So Jack escapes in, kind of hilarious fashion because he's swinging around and stuff. And that's what I love the detail about, when he swings up onto that pillar and he's bouncing himself, he's able to do it because he does that, weird walk everywhere because he's on a boat all the time. So when he's on land, he's doesn't have, sea legs.
Yeah.
So Jack escapes to the blacksmith shop, and that's when he runs into Will. And
you said that you really liked this interaction between the two.
I do.
And
so
I did not remember this.
I guess we met Will earlier. Whoops. At Norrington's ascension to captain. He made a sword for Norrington. And it's pretty obvious that Will has the hots for Elizabeth. Don't blame him. But so Will is back here. And so this is where I guess Will is between Jack and the door. So Jack has to fight him to get out. And so they talk about how this is pretty cool because it shows that Jack is a
competent person.
Yeah, he's a good sword fighter, and
he's a very happy-go-lucky guy, but he is also extremely skilled. And he thinks everything through.
He's planning ahead,
which is so crazy because you're like, oh well, it's Jack. I mean, he's not gonna.
An idiot.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Will is between Jack and the door. And Jack is testing his sword fighting ability, and then Jack goes, "Well, how about if I step this way, then you'll step this way?" He's like, "Oh, very good, very good." Until they've turned places, and Jack is at the door, and he goes to leave, and then Will tomahawks his sword, he throws it to the door, and it hits the latch, and he can't open the door.
He said, That's a neat trick, but now you don't have a sword.
And you're in between me and my escape. But since it's a blacksmith shop and all Will does is make swords. There's swords all over the place.
He said, how many swords are there? Who keeps making all these swords?
Yeah, I love that line too. And he's like, and I practice with them 3 hours a day. He's like, you need to get yourself a girl, mate. So yeah, they're fighting.
Well,
and
you mentioned this when we were watching it, that there's a lot of slapstick comedy.
The slapstick is good.
It is good. Because there are times in newer movies that it's just not funny.
No.
It's dumb.
It may sound like it's in a bad way, but it reminds me so much of like the zaniness and like the physical humor of like Tom and Jerry.
Yeah.
Like in this fight, like the characters are so like moving and they're like dynamic and stuff. Like there's this like in the blacksmith shop, there's like this
it's a grain
it's got like wheels.
Wheelbarrow.
It's like it's weighted down at one point, but then they step on something and it loosens it, so it's like teetering back and forth like a seesaw.
Yeah.
So like they're jumping on it and stuff, and they're like flying up into the air, and it's good. So then Jack loses his sword, and he pulls out his pistol and he points it at Will, and he says, "This shot is not meant for you. Please get out of the way." Pretty epic foreshadowing. I like it.
Yeah.
And then since I guess Will's the apprentice, not really. He's in charge of this blacksmith shop, but the drunken guy who's like been passed out in the corner this whole time, who's like in charge of like the shop, knocks Jack out with like I imagine a bottle of rum or something. And gets all the credit for knocking Will out when all the British folks show up.
Dude, this is the best thing, because right before Jack got away the first time, he goes, "This will be the day you remember as the day you almost caught Captain Jack Sparrow." And then the British guy goes, "This is the day that you almost got away."
Ooh. So yeah, he's knocked unconscious, and they take him to prison, and he's going to be hanged the next day. So like we said earlier, when that like shockwave went out in the water, that sent a signal to a certain crew, and who would show up to Port Royal, and I guess I didn't know this either. It's in Jamaica, but the Black Pearl. And dude, that I remember that shot over like it's Jack looking down into the water, and like you just see the Black Pearl just like firing cannon shots like all over the city. I'm like, that's such a cool shot.
Dude, the CGI in this movie
for 2003, yeah,
so good.
And yeah, the cannons are firing off, and Jack goes, "I know those cannons." Which I find that so cool that like Jack is able to, like we don't recognize cannon fire from other cannon fire, but like he does. So like it's funny because like the guys next to him that were like locked up, they get a hole blasted in their cell, so they're able to escape, but not Jack.
He's just so unlucky.
Yeah. And the crew is there, what we think at first, after Elizabeth, because she's, the governor's daughter, worth some money. Not quite. They do go to her house, though, and dude, this is Disney. And the old butler man opens up the door and then gets shot in the head. It's like,
yeah, dude.
Disney.
Like they go, "Hello, governor." Boom. That is insane. That, and when the town is being exploded, there's a child screaming, "Mama!"
It's like, we need to calm down. We need to calm down.
It's just scary.
So yeah, they get Elizabeth, and because she says parlay, and I guess in like
the pirate
code, when you say parlay, that means you have to be taken to the captain and negotiate. Which I just find it so funny that pirates have rules.
Yeah.
So at the same time, Will is down in the town, and he's like fighting and trying to like kill some of the pirates. But there's this one dude that has bombs, and he's throwing them all over the place. And Will throws like a tomahawk into his back, and like he falls to the ground. And then a little bit later in the skirmish, he sees that same guy again, and then like Will's like, "What? I thought I just killed you." And
a bomb gets thrown at Will's feet.
Yeah.
But luckily,
it doesn't go off.
It doesn't go off, which is probably very common because older technology wouldn't be.
Right.
But then he gets hit in the back of the head and passes out.
He knocks out. Yep. So, and
Elizabeth makes a deal.
Yeah, so she gets onto the crew and meets Captain Barbossa, which, dude, he's like, besides Jack, he's like the coolest pirate, hands down. And so because she doesn't want to give up her real identity as the governor's daughter, she says her name is Elizabeth Turner. And that's good news to the crew.
Yeah, they all go, Turner? Oh, interesting.
And she also has the gold medallion.
Dude, that huge mistake. 2 huge mistakes that she just made.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough because she doesn't know the importance of Turner. So they gonna keep her because she's the key to like I guess they're like future plans.
Yeah.
They need her. So the next day, Will wakes up and he's super peeved. Really, he's real flustered. He goes to Norrington and he tells him we need to take immediate action, and like maybe we can get Jack's help. And Norrington's like, nah, that's stupid. And he tells him to, bugger off. He's like, get out of here. So Will goes to Jack, and so like Jack picks up pretty quick. He's like, it's for the girl. I got you. So a little bit of leverage. They open up the cell that Jack's in.
Because he's a blacksmith, he knows a lot about ironwork and understood how the door was put together.
And Jack's like, yeah, I guess I'll go along because I want the Black Pearl. So they, he asks Will, he's like, are you willing to die for this girl? And he's like, yeah, of course. And Jack goes, good.
Because he might.
Because we're probably going to die. And then they break physics they flip over like this small dinghy looking thing.
Yeah.
And this is not how water works. They they flip it over and then they're walking on the bottom of the sea and they have like this air pocket.
But a huge air pocket.
Yeah. And that would only work if they were like up top and no.
The only way I could possibly no. I mean, if they were weighted and they were holding on to the boat, then maybe.
Right, but yeah.
But there's not enough weight.
They're not strong enough, yeah.
No.
Yeah, no. Little nitpick there. So, and also that Will tells Jack that his last name was Turner, and that's really what sent Jack off to help him.
Yeah.
And as we figure out, Jax has a plan in his head right from this moment. And so, it's interesting. What's this Turner name mean?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of people have said it now. And then they also said bootstrap.
Yeah. So who's Bootstrap?
Yeah, that kind of makes us think, did they know his dad, I guess? Or
So this is a pretty great scene where they get what is the name?
They steal the big ship.
I just don't know the name.
I can't think of it either.
but yeah, it's more of like a vessel for battle. Like it has more cannons. It's bigger. It's yeah. So they take that ship. Well, there's a couple guards on it, and they tell. So the guards that they kicked off are alerting Norrington to the interceptor. And, of course, the interceptor catches Jack and Will on their ship because the interceptor is, like, super fast.
Yeah.
And then...
But also, they still hadn't gotten all the stuff put together to, like, actually set sail. Because there were 2 people on a 16, 18-man boat.
Right. So, and then another kind of silly thing, but I guess if there were some left over, I would imagine Jack and Will would have just threw them overboard. Every single soldier goes from the interceptor to the bigger ship, and as they're swinging over, Jack and Will swing over to the interceptor, and they chop off all of the hooks that they used to swing over.
Yeah.
And the plank is they knock the plank out. And Jack's like, "Oh, thank you, Norrington, for the interceptor."
It would have been way too hard for just the 2 of us to prepare it to go.
True.
So the entire thing was to get the interceptor because it was a fast ship.
And then so a guy tells Norrington, like, "What's our plan of action?" And he goes, "Well, we're not going to be catch up to it, so I want you to turn the ship so the guns can face it because I want to sink it rather than let Jack have it." And what did they say, Jack? It made something where they're not able to turn the ship.
He cut the rudder.
Yeah.
He like the rope that goes to the rudder to turn it. He cut it,
so they can't turn the ship.
Can't turn the ship. But
it's so smart.
Before that, when he was taking off on the big ship, he's like, "That's the dumbest pirate I've ever seen." Or something. And then when he takes off now, they go, "That's the best pirate I've ever seen." So it would seem. Dude, that's so good because it's...
I love how pissed off Norrington is. Yeah, and they can't turn, so the little dinghy that was full of the crew of the interceptor smashes into the boat, so they have to all jump out, and it's pretty great.
Yeah.
So Jack and Will are off. And while en route, Will asked Jack, he's like, "You really weren't interested in helping me until you learned my last name, Turner." And he goes, "Oh, yeah, well, I knew your dad. Old Bootstrap Bill."
Yeah, the pirate.
He's a pirate. And and
Will gets very defensive.
Yeah, he whips out his sword and he's like, "Take it back." And Jack's like, "Put it away, son." He's like, "All I really believe in life is what you can do and what you can't do." And then Jack, like, he spins like the wheel really
aggressively,
really hard. Yeah. So like the momentum of the ship shifts one of the sail poles, and like it smacks Will over the side of the ship, so he's barely hanging on. He goes, "Take me for example. I could let you drown, but I need you to sail to Tortuga."
Yeah, I can't sail alone.
Yeah, buy me lonesome. It's like, "So what you can do is accept your dad was a pirate, and it's in your blood." And he's like, "Are you gonna help me man the ship?" And so he pulls him back around, and so they're kind of like on uneasy terms of like, "Okay, I'll help you do this, and you'll help me do this."
But that's like another thing is, oh, it's gone. Never mind. Brain stopped working.
So.
Oh, well, does Jack say, no, this is later, where Jack says, "Not every pirate's treasure is gold," or something like that.
Not yet.
That's such a good line.
Mm-hmm. So,
do we go back to the Black Pearl?
Shoot, lost my place.
I'm pretty sure we go back to the Black Pearl now with Elizabeth making her deal. Or, well, she already made her deal, but...
Oh, so they get the crew, right?
Oh, yeah.
Jack goes to Tortuga.
Yeah.
And they find Gibbs.
Yeah.
And instead of being part of the Royal Navy, he's a little bit lower in stature now. He's a drunk
Sleeping
pirate,
with pigs.
sleeping with pigs.
They throw 2 buckets of water on him.
The first water to wake him up, and he's pissed off, and he whips it. He pulls out a knife, and he goes, "Oh, hey, Jack." And then the second, he's like, and then Gibbs
I'm
is like,
already awake.
it's for the smell.
Then
And
he's like,
yeah.
That makes sense. Yep.
So Tortuga, I guess, is like Las Vegas times 10, and there's like constantly fighting.
It's 4 pirates ran by pirates.
Yeah. So this is where they tells Gibbs he needs a crew, and then Mr. Gibbs is like, "What makes you think that Barbossa is gonna give you the Black Pearl?" And Jack's like, he's like tilting his head over to Will. He's like, "I got leverage," and Will overhears this, and he's like, "What does that mean?"
Yeah.
So as like they're on the interceptor going to, where are they going?
They're going to some island. The island of the gold one.
Right, the Aztec gold.
I can't think of the dang names.
So as they're sailing there, we go back to the Black Pearl, and it's like this. The two other great side characters, the bumbling idiots of like the pirates. Those 2 guys are great.
I think it's Pintle and Raggety.
That's their first names.
Yeah. Yeah. But ooh-wee. Those guys.
Mm-hmm. Pretty goofy. The tall, skinny one has like a wooden eye.
So I don't think it's actually wooden. I think it's his original eye because
how? Wouldn't it be rotted and
they can't die. Therefore, they can't get older. They can't.
Maybe.
So when he said it gives him splinters in his eye or in his eye socket, it's because it keeps falling out and rolling across the ground, collecting wood shavings, and then gets put back in his eye. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure it's his actual eye.
Ew.
Yeah, it's gross.
So they right. So they tell her that Elizabeth is wanted by the captain for dinner, and he's like, but you got to wear this dress. And he goes, "What if?" She's like, "What if I say no?" And he goes, "Well, I figured you'd say that, but if you say no, then you're gonna be dining with the crew naked." It's like they're so goofy.
And then when she goes, "Give me the dress," they go, "Oh."
So she goes and eats with Barbossa, and the monkey has the gold medallion. Also, he has a monkey, which is like, what is it, a capuchin or something
capuchin monkey.
Dude, it's so cool. So Barbossa is like telling her to eat, and she's like eating, and you see on his face that he's like,
he's enjoying watching her eat,
and he wants it, and I'm like, and that's when I remember watching this as a kid for the first time. I remember thinking like, dude, just eat the food.
Stop being so weird. Just put it in your mouth.
So, he gets up and he starts to tell her, well, she's like confused. It's like, what is? I imagine the food's poisoned. Like, what? Are you gonna kill me? He's like, what? He's like, no, we're not gonna kill you. we got a use for you. And then he goes into saying how
many years ago.
Yeah, they were on the ship, and they heard about this story about this gold from the Aztecs. I can't remember who was the guy. He was a famous Cortez. It was his gold. And
he had cursed it.
Yeah. Well, so I think the Aztecs cursed it because of Cortez bloodshed and like taking over. So the Aztecs put a curse on this gold, And, Barbosa and his crew didn't believe it. So they go in and they take all the gold. They spend it. They women, booze, whatever. The more they spend, the more they found out this curse was very real.
Yeah, food started turning to ash in their mouth.
Drink did nothing.
Drink did not quench their thirst.
They didn't feel heat. They didn't feel
pain.
Girls.
Yeah, dude, that is so
tough. That'd be rough. So
like starving to death but never dying. That's what he said.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So they've tracked down all the gold and they put it back and they repaid it in their blood, except for one, and they need one more person's blood. Turner's blood, and that's why they need her.
But they threw Turner off the boat.
Yeah. And so she's concerned that she's going to die because they have to repay blood. So she grabs a knife and is like running around with Barbosa, and then he literally says "arg," like he kind of snarls it at her.
She runs out.
Well, she stabs him.
Oh yeah, in the heart.
And then he's like, curious, what were you gonna do after you killed me? True, because there's like a boat full of pirates,
Yeah.
Yeah, and then she runs outside, and dude, they're all skeletons.
He reveals that they were all cursed when they stole the gold, and now they are all skeletons. Every time the moonlight hits them,
it reveals what they truly are. And he goes, "You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Swan. You're in one."
That was pretty cool.
Miss Turner. Miss
Miss
Turner. And then she runs closes the door, and then he throws the bottle of rum because he doesn't do anything. And then he starts laughing, and he tells them all to get back to work, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
So we back on the Interceptor, we get another story from Gibbs to Will about how so
how he got to
Jack. It was way back in the day.
Yeah.
When they were going, Jack was the only one that had the information where the Aztec gold was. And he was the captain of the Black Pearl. And once Jack told the crew where it was, they had no need for him. So they mutiny, and Barbosa takes reign of the ship and maroons him on an island with a pistol. And Bootstrap didn't like how they
went about it.
What treated him, so they just got rid of him. They tied cannonballs to his feet and they dropped him in the ocean.
Because he can't die. Dude, that's insane.
Well, not yet.
No, he can't die because of the curse.
Well, they didn't have the curse yet.
Are you sure?
Sure. Very sure.
That's why they needed his blood. Is because
right. They realized that afterwards. After they killed him and then they went and got the gold, they're like, "Oh, we need his blood."
I think you might be mistaken. I
don't think so.
Because they repaid all of their blood into the gold, and Bootstrap had a piece as well as his blood because he stole.
Oh, right, because he mailed it to Will.
Yes. So I believe.
So they took the gold and then they killed.
Yes.
Ooh, so
he was down there not able to die.
Rough.
Dude, that sucks.
rough. So you just drowned over and over again.
Yeah. Which is even worse, honestly.
So, so they tell Jack was able to get off the island because he got together some sea turtles and he tied it together with the hair on his back.
Everybody believed it. I mean, that's insane.
Gibbs believes it. Nobody else should, though. That's what I also like about all of Jack's stories is it's part of the fun that we don't know how he actually does what he does.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Batman. Like when we see him, like, you know that thing where like somebody looks away and is talking and they look back and Batman's gone.
Yeah. That's
part of the fun is we don't know how he does it.
He just runs.
So yeah, and that's Will really starts to set in that, yeah, I got pirate blood, and he's basically a pirate already. He stole a ship with a pirate, and he's going for treasure. Dude's a pirate.
Oh yeah.
I'm
trying to think what happens next.
So we're at the cave. We show up to the cave.
Yes.
And so they get Elizabeth there. Will and Jack are also there, and that's where you get the line of, because we're talking about Will's a pirate, and he goes, I'm not obsessed with treasure. And he goes, not all silver and gold is treasure, mate. And it's like, ooh,
that's
yeah,
good.
He's after the girl. So Will and Jack are like, hanging back, watching from afar, trying to, find an opportune moment to sneak in there. And Barbossa and all of the crew are, I suppose, whoopsie.
What's up?
Forgot quite a bit there. Oh, wait, no. Never mind.
I was going to say.
I'm getting the scenes mixed up, the order. So
they kind of talk about the code.
I think I can do it. So they have her there, and they cut her hand, and they drop the coin in, and she goes, "You're not gonna kill me." And Barbossa says, I think the creepiest line in the movie. He goes, "Waste not," and it's like,
yeah.
The implications are,
This is very funny to me.
I love this scene so much. So they drop the coin in, and they're like,
"Did it work?
Did it work?" I don't feel any different. He's like, "Do you feel it?" The two idiot pirates are going back and forth. He's like, "Do you feel it?" I don't feel it. And Barbossa rolls his eyes. He pulls out his pistol and shoots the guy in the chest. Like, there are other ways that you. He's like, "He just shot me. You're not dead."
Yeah.
So yeah, it didn't work.
Nope.
What?
And
what?
Will beats Jack over the back of the head.
We know why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Because it's not a turn. She's not Turner. She's a swan.
Will beats Jack over
and
the
then
back
so
of the
they
head.
So Barbossa turns to her and says, "What's your last name?" He goes, "It isn't Turner, is it?" And she goes, "No." And then there's a lot of backhanding Elizabeth in this movie. She gets slapped down the hill of like treasure that's in this cave. And the crew's arguing. And yeah, at the meantime, Jack's like, tells Will, he's like, "Stay here and please don't do anything stupid." He's gonna do something stupid.
Yeah.
So I suppose, love makes you do crazy things.
I guess.
So as they're arguing, Will smacks Jack over the head with an oar and knocks him out. And then he like stealthily like goes under the water, and he reaches up right behind the crew and the treasure, and it gets Elizabeth. And like, but the crew is arguing, so Barbossa doesn't hear like his little capuchin friend like is like, he's screaming at like Elizabeth's gone and they're leaving. And so they're like, one of the crew says, "How about we just spill all of her blood and see if that works?" And then they're like, "Okay." So Barbossa looks down and she's gone, and like he sees his monkey like pointing that way, and so like she's escaping. So the crew runs out, and Elizabeth and Will are gone. But who do they run into? They run into Jack. And then so they're like, the crew's like, "Hold up, you're supposed to be dead." And he goes, and Jack's like, Pa, Pause, snip, pause.
Partay, parley.
Parlay?
Yeah, parlay.
All the rest of the crew just like,
Looks.
because now they got to take him to Barbosa.
Yeah.
And Jack has a kind of a funny line because it's a stereotype, even though they've only done it twice in history. I think the bald dude says, "Damn to the depths of the sea, whoever came up with the term parlay," and Jack goes, "I believe it's the French," because they retreat. It's one of those funny things in history where it's like, if you do it twice, then you retreat every time. So, or surrender, I should say.
Yeah.
But so they take Jack to Barbosa.
Meanwhile, William and Elizabeth go back to the Endeavor. Nope. What's it? The one that...
Wait, hold on.
What? They go back to the boat.
Hold up. Now I'm confused again. How does this happen?
This movie, I mean, all of it happens so quickly that it is hard to keep track of what goes on.
Oh, okay. So, right. So, yeah, there's a lot of moving parts here towards the end. Let's see.
He goes back to Barbosa.
Jack barters with Barbosa,
Yeah.
saying he will reveal Bootstrap's real child in exchange for the pearl.
But they take him to the boat, which means that Will
and so
already got taken.
And the rest of the crew go back to the Interceptor.
Yes.
With Gibbs and the gang, and a little midget guy.
and they say,
the dude with the bird. Forgot about the dude with the bird. Oh, and so we
Gamora.
Yeah, Gamora. It's pretty cool that she was in these movies.
From Marvel.
So the Pearl is going to catch up with the Interceptor, and they has fight, and lots of people are killed. And
in the meantime, Jack gets out.
Yeah, they blow a hole. He's like, "Stop blowing holes in my ship." So they sink the Interceptor and they take the crew captive. Mm-hmm. Will reveals that he is Bootstrap Bill's real son and demands that Elizabeth and the crew be freed, or he will shoot himself and fall overboard. I mean, they could just, when he's dead, they could just take his blood anyway.
True. No, what he says is set Elizabeth free, and
the crew shouldn't be harmed.
Yeah.
Or something. Yeah.
So he puts the crew in jail and makes Elizabeth jump the plank.
Yeah, with Jack. So yeah, he's like, I'll set her free, but you didn't name the terms of when or where. And he's like, it's like
so they maroon her.
The monkey's paw, or yeah, I think that's what that is. Yeah.
The island or what?
You ever read that story?
No.
It's I think it's from Edgar Allan Poe. It's like wishes and stuff like that, or like every finger of the monkey's paw, like you get a wish, but like the wish does some
so like genie rules.
Trickery like that. It's like, well, you didn't specify when or where, but you'll have the
gotcha. Like $100.
Yeah,
and you get 100 deer.
Yeah. Yeah, stuff like that.
Gotcha.
So Jack and Elizabeth are marooned once again on the island, and Jack's kind of like, okay, I'm going to go, because he knows exactly where this, is it cache or catch? Is it cache?
Cache.
He finds this, finds the cache of, food, rum, and he's like, so I'm just going to start drinking, because, we're trapped here.
Well.
And she's like, well, how did you get off in the first place? And he goes, well, back in the day, there were rum runners who used to come through here, and,
they used the cache that he found.
But your pal Norrington has put a stop to all the rum runners, so we're trapped.
Coming.
I can't get off.
Yeah, so they drink the night away.
They're like, yeah. And Jack passes out. But it was kind of Elizabeth's plan to get him, blackout drunk. because she starts using the rum in the fire. She like starts setting all the trees on fire, and Jack wakes up. He's like, "No, not good." He's like, "Why's the rum gone?" And he
I
goes,
need to set a fire.
"But why's the rum gone?"
Why is the rum gone?
And she never answers. But yeah, it's the flames like 100 feet high, and the Royal Navy are looking for her, so they're gonna find her.
Yeah.
And
Jack starts walking to the other side of the island, and he sees the ship. He goes, "I'm never gonna hear the end of this."
Oh no, he says something like, "It's never gonna work with her now," or something. Like
Yeah. Yeah, they get taken back to Port Royal.
Well, they're on the ship. I don't think they go back to Port Royal.
Okay.
Because Jack tells him, "Wouldn't it be great if you could take down the Black Pearl?" And but Elizabeth says he wants to save Will, and so like the first it's always so great how Jack is trying to manipulate everybody, but Commodore is the only person who has like the morals to like, no, I don't serve just myself. I'm not going to do it for just the glory.
Yeah.
But then Elizabeth says, do it for me as a wedding present. And it's like, Jack's like, "Ooh, I love weddings." So Norrington turns the ship around, and they're going to, because Jack knows where it is, they're going to get the gold, save Will, and take out all the pirates. Jack leaves out the part that they're cursed skeletons.
Yep. So when they get there, Jack goes in and walks through all the pirates, and they are like, "You're supposed to be dead."
Barbossa goes, "Impossible," and he goes, "Not probable."
But yeah, so he explains to them that the Royal Navy is outside, and you could heal yourself.
You could get rid of the curse now,
and then you could die.
You should wait for the opportune moment.
Yeah.
Go take care of Norrington's men, and then come back here and do your business.
Dude, that's so cool.
Yeah, dude, he's got it planned out from the very beginning. And so the pirates go do what they do best, and do this scene with them walking under the ship, how the light, like they go from skeleton to...
so good.
It's so...
Every time they're in the shade, they're human. Every time they're in the moonlight, they're...
Skellies.
It is so good.
And the two idiot pirates are like the distraction, like they're sailing out in like women's clothing.
Yeah.
And then so I think it was Jack was the one that told them to like sail out on the little dinghies, most of the crew.
Yeah.
Because they were going to drop him off. And there's like a moment where like Jack's talking to Norrington like before he goes into the cave, and like he's just, saying goofy Jack things, and you can see the character for like Norrington, he like smirks because he breaks character, because like I imagine a lot of people did.
Yeah, I mean, it's Johnny Depp being
just goofing.
Goofy.
So let's see. Oh, so yeah. Also, when Jack's telling him to like take the crew out and do the thing, he's picking up the gold, and he's saying every last one, but he takes one and puts it in his sleeve. And I think the only one that notices it is Will. Yeah. And Will goes, "This is your plan from the very beginning." He goes, "Yep."
Uh-huh. Pretty much.
So.
Oh, that's what it was.
What?
He said he could create a fleet. If he goes and captures the boat, he could create a fleet.
Got 2 ships.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what gets Barbossa to go do it.
So.
Greed.
And then Jack betrays the deal and kicks one of, like, so there's a couple dudes and Barbossa versus Jack, Will, and Jack, Will, and Elizabeth, who are in the cave fighting the crew and Barbossa. So Jack is fighting Barbossa, and they're fighting this crew. And that's the other little nitpick I have with the pain.
Yeah.
Whenever they get stabbed, like in the beginning of the movie when they got stabbed, or like when the coals fell on them, and they're like, the guy was like, hot, hot, hot. Or like in this moment where like they get stabbed with spears and stuff, like they're grunting or like they are flinching in pain, and it's like they shouldn't be able to feel anything. This is a little nitpick.
I don't know if maybe it's when they're not in the sun, or when they're not in the moon. They can feel pain, but they can't feel touch. Maybe, but then
I would agree. But then when Barbossa got stabbed, he didn't.
Yeah,
didn't.
It is.
It's one of those rules that's kind of like.
It's there when we need it.
Yeah. So they're fighting, and then Jack stabs. Barbossa does nothing, and then Barbossa stabs Jack, and for a second it looks like he's gonna die, but
backs up into the moon.
Ooh, and it looks so sick. And he's slipping the coin on his like skeleton fingers, and he goes, "That's interesting." So they're still fighting. Will and Elizabeth stab all three guys with like
a lance.
Yeah. And then they put a bomb in the guy's chest, and then they shove him back so the bomb wouldn't fall out as a skeleton.
Dude, that is so cold.
And the guy goes, "Oh, not fair." And then all three of them blow up, and then so like, well, there goes the skeletons, I guess.
Yeah.
So they all come to a standstill. Where Elizabeth's running towards Jack and Barbossa. Barbossa pulls out a gun, and he's pointing it at Elizabeth. And then a shot gets fired. And it turns, and then Jack had shot Barbossa in the heart. And
Barbossa goes...
He's like, you just wasted that one shot after 10 years. And then, cut. Cut to Will, and he cut his hand, and he dropped the last coin into the water.
Or
not in the water, into the
chest of gold. Dude, oh my goodness.
Question.
What's up?
Didn't Jack have one?
He threw it to him.
Oh, he threw it to him, right. I was like, didn't Jack have one still?
No.
So he threw it to him, drops it in, and then Barbossa drops his sword and his gun, and he rips open his shirt, and you see like the blood, like a lot of blood, because, shot him in the heart. And then he's like, I feel cold. And then he falls over and dies, and it's like, yo. And then all the crew that are fighting on the royal ship, some of them fall from their injuries.
Yeah, they finally
they
start
just got
dying.
Like, stabbed. And then some of them just drop it because they know the curse is actually over. Yeah. And it's kind of sad a little bit because like their whole purpose was to like
become human again.
And then now they got nothing. Now they're just Now they're definitely screwed because they're going to jail.
Go get hung.
Yeah. So they go back to, of course, they take Jack.
Yeah.
Because that crew had left on the Interceptor. Because they're like, leave man behind, that's fine. And then Jack's like, no, I get it. Like he's covered in gold, and like he's like, so like right before they're in the cave, and like Jack or Elizabeth and Will are talking about like, relationship, and Elizabeth says, well, I guess I gotta go get married. And so she walks off, and then Jack goes, if you were wondering when the opportune moment was, that was it.
Yeah. Then
True.
Jump cut
to... Will fumbled the bag.
Oh, my goodness. Then jump cut to the gallows. Royale. Yeah.
They're going to hang Jack.
William's in the crowd watching, and he sees...
He sees the parrot.
He sees the parrot. I can't think of the name. He sees Cotton's parrot.
Wait, no, my bad.
What?
The Interceptor is destroyed.
Yes.
What I said earlier. They rode away on the Black Pearl.
Yeah.
So yeah, and he sees Cotton's parrot. He's like, ooh, ooh. Oh yeah. I guess we forgot to say a little But like Cotton's backstory is kind of brutal. He got his
tongue
cut out, and now the parrot speaks for him.
But it doesn't no.
They're like, well, what we think the parrot means is yes.
It's like, what did it say? It said, raise anchor, raise anchor. He goes,
We think that's yes.
I think that means yes.
But yeah, so the parrot shows up, and Will's like, oh, well, stuff's about to go down, so I might as well just... He runs over in front of everybody.
Yeah.
The father...
Pulls the sword out, starts cutting.
And he says, I love you, Elizabeth. And then he runs through, and he does the trick again.
The sword
I
trick.
love that they set that up in the beginning, that he could do that.
Throws the sword.
Right before
Dude, that is
Jack,
so good.
Right before Jack falls, the sword hits the bottom, and like he is like his like tippy toes are on the sword, and he's like teetering and like barely not getting choked. And like right above him, Jack and like the executioner are like swinging.
Oh, dude, it's so good.
They cut the rope, and Will and Jack trip some dudes. They knock some dudes out, but they're like 100+ soldiers on like that, so they eventually are outnumbered.
But then Elizabeth comes in,
and
she says that she doesn't want to get married to what's his face,
and so yeah, what Norrington says, he's like, you're really gonna put yourself, he's like, this is your place, and he's like, yeah, he's like, I want to, basically he's like, between you and Jack, because while he's a pirate, he's actually a good man. Debatable. So yeah, they're all gonna get arrested, I guess, and so yeah, Elizabeth says that he loves Will and not Norrington. It's like,
and Norrington pulls his sword out and goes,
well, hold on,
what?
Hold on. So Jack, he's starting to back up, and he goes, you'll remember this as the day you almost, and he trips over the same ledge that Elizabeth fell over, and he falls into the water. And the Black Pearl is coming around, and they
pick him up.
And yeah, and then Norrington's like, you made this sword, and he's like, I would assume that a man that cares this much about a sword would take this much precaution in every aspect of his life, something like that.
Yeah, something.
And he goes, I will. And so he takes the sword.
Norrington goes to cry in his
probably. And then so the guy's like, sir,
what about Jack?
Jack? And he's like,
what's a day?
Well, I figure we can give him a day's head start. And he's like, I remember people I've seen reviews online where it's like, they should have followed him. And I'm like, the Black Pearl is faster than any ship they have, because especially since the Interceptor is destroyed, it's not like they would have caught him anyway.
Yeah.
They basically have a day's head start anyway. And then so Jack flings up onto the Black Pearl, and he goes, what about the code, huh? And he's like, they're more guidelines.
But, yeah.
So dude. Jack is captain of the ship, and it ends with like Will and Elizabeth are together, and then I love the final line where Jack's like, drink up me hearties, yo ho, and then cuts to credits, and dude, the Hans Zimmer score of like dun 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 dun, dude, oh, it's so good.
And there's an after credits scene.
True.
Where the monkey goes back because he got thrown off the boat, picks up a coin and goes zombie again.
True.
Which makes us think, what's gonna happen?
I don't know. Cut to black.
Yes. Dude, such a good movie.
Oh, snap.
Yes. Yeah.
So, can't say too much. We're about out of time. But, 8 out of 10. This first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, dude, it was so much fun. There were, of course, little nitpicks here and there.
It happens.
But I had so much fun watching this movie. There are so many cool scenes. Like, the CGI is pretty great for 2003.
Oh, 100%.
The only thing with the actors is like Will and Elizabeth, no chemistry.
No, absolutely not.
They're so
Orlando
boring.
Bloom
It's so boring. I thought he was boring in the Lord of the Rings movies, I'm being honest, too. I thought he was so boring in those movies.
Keira Knightley and Orlando Bloom.
Yeah, so boring. Very boring.
It was difficult.
They're trying, but it's very boring. Johnny Depp and Barbosa, dude, they steal the show. And some of the side characters do as well, I think, too.
For sure.
So...
yeah.
And this is I guess we'll talk more about that with the other movies, but
This is the first in the Pirates of the Caribbean series.
Yeah.
I mean,
and Disney, what Disney gonna do?
Disney does what Disney does.
They see something successful, and then they're gonna, milk it.
Milk it till it's dry. I would probably give it an 8 as well.
It's so much fun.
Yeah.
It's that movie where like I want to be a pirate, and then you're like, oh, scurvy.
Yeah, scurvy. You got just a lot of bad things.
But yeah, it was fun.
Yeah. Well, this has been the Silver Screen Shenanigans podcast. Thank you all for listening, and we hope to see you next time.